last week when I spoke with Asia, she said that your tribe was made up of three duos. Is that correct?
That is correct. There were three strong duos. I had never realized that the duo that was probably the closest was Genevieve and Rome, but it was three pairs of duos. Saul and Asia, Genevieve and Rome, and Teeny and I smack in the middle.
And speaking of the middle, you guys had a nice little middle position last episode with the vote out for Asia. Can you talk me through that decision?
Yeah. So, Tina and I were immediately like the moment we got on the island, we were just firing on all gears. We were just like gung ho together. We adored each other. We knew we were working with each other. We kind of saw animosity brewing between Saul and Rome. So we knew that they were on opposite sides. And then naturally, it just kind of occurred that Asia gravitated towards Saul and Genevieve gravitated towards Rome. Now, because there was that animosity, those two duos never talked to each other. So they were kind of there. We were in the middle. And so when that vote happened of kind of having to figure out who's going to be the first one to go, Tina and I are in a lovely position of being able to be like, okay, we have the luxury of deciding which side we want to go with. Like, let's weigh our options. Let's talk about like potential scenarios. And, I think it just highlighted and solidified how close Tina and I were to both pairs. Because, when I said the core four like alliance, that was an intentional statement. It was not a misstep. Like I very specifically said that because both pairs thought that they were the four. Both pairs thought that we were so close with them. I sensed that tribal that like Saul and Asia felt a little like in a precarious position. I didn't want them to play their shot in the dark because I knew that the vote was going to go towards one of them too. So I specifically said that to be like, hey guys, I'm trying to signal we're fine. Like stand down, we're okay. Even though like that wasn't the case, like it was more of a calming down statement rather than a accidental like, hey, Genevieve, Rome, Teeny, and I are gonna do whatever we want because we're a four. It was more of a very intentional statement. So yeah, the duos definitely were really key in all of the decision making going down the line.
So is it accurate that you and Teeny did decide to side with Genevieve and Rome, take out Asia, but you told Asia the opposite, that you guys were going to take out Genevieve?
Very much. So the conversation that happened was with Saul and Asia, we created this story that Rome may play the idol on Genevieve. Rome never said that. Rome never specifically himself said, I'm gonna play my idol for Genevieve, like just to stir it up. Like we don't know like who's gonna vote for what. We created that, and then we went with Saul and Asia, and we're like, hey, Rome has told us he has an idol. He's told us that he might play it on Genevieve. Maybe we should split the vote. Maybe, like if we have two, like four of us, we do two on Rome, two on Genevieve. And then if there's a revote, we're done. It's easy. So that's why the one vote from Asia went on to Genevieve, one vote from Saul went on to Rome. That was the reason it was split. Now we went over to Genevieve and Rome, and we're like, all right, we've had conversations. Let's vote out Asia. We literally just told them we're like, the plan's going to be Asia. And initially it was Saul. Then we had the conversation with Asia. She wasn't budging. She didn't really want to throw out Saul's name ever. And so we're like, all right, the plan's Asia. And we kind of just told them, we're like, okay, the vote's going to be Asia. And they just went with it. And that's why both of them voted Asia. And then I voted Asia. The only vote that came for Saul was from Teeny. And that was more of a throwaway just in case things went awry.
Sure. And did you guys ever even debate taking out Genevieve, or it just wasn't an option for you?
No, so that was something that hasn't been shown or highlighted as much as was Genevieve and I had a very strong relationship. Teeny and Genevieve had a really strong relationship. The three of us were probably the tightest trio out of
Mhm.
anyone on the island. We thought we were super tight. We had already discussed what steps we wanted to take. Us three had talked about voting out Rome. We like, including Genevieve, we had been like, hey, the minute Rome doesn't have an idol, it's three of us. We're fine. We'll vote him out. It's too much chaos. So in our minds, Genevieve just made more sense because she was specifically working with us so much. in the
Mm-hmm.
trio setting, that we're like, okay, we can make things work, like we can go forward. Rather, that wasn't really happening as much with like Saul and Asia. We were super tight with them as like a four. However, like we didn't have a specific gravity towards them. We knew that they were tight with each other. So in our minds, it made sense that them two are just super tight with each other, and them two, I mean Saul and Asia, versus Genevieve and Rome. There might be a little divide, and Genevieve can gravitate towards a bit more. So in our minds, it just didn't make sense for us to vote out Genevieve, who's willing to work with us.
Okay, so knowing that you guys felt pretty close to Genevieve, do you think that that was just lip service from her now that she, now that you have been voted out, or do you think something changed?
I don't think it was just lip service. I don't think it was her just like a smoke and screen. I think what changed was she started thinking about the game and kind of thinking about what it looked like once merge came and who would be a better screen. And Rome is an excellent screen. Rome is an excellent shield. He just is. He's gonna be a great target any point. At any point in the game, he's a great target for anyone. Even if you've never met him, within 5 minutes, easy shield. Because people are
Hmm.
gonna vote for him. So
Right.
I think she started to connect that like Teeny and me being in the middle is not a shield.
Hmm.
Rome is a shield. It made sense more for her game because she had that relationship with Rome to instead side with him. I don't think that necessarily negates what the earlier plans were, and I don't think that that was a lie. I think that was just an evolution of her game and an evolution of her thought process.
So when you're sitting in tribal and Rome steals your vote, what goes through your mind?
Oh, the first thing I can think of is this what a blindside feels like? Oh, yeah, I guess that's what's happening. Like, that's all you can think of. It's just pure shock. You're like, you're trying to immediately, all I'm trying to think of is like, okay, how can this be still okay? Like, how can him being stinging my boat be like just like another smoke screen of like everything's fine? And immediately you're like, no, this is the real deal. This is what's happening. Like, it's happening.
And then you just sit there, right? Because you don't go vote. So you're just sitting there watching people get up. You're probably getting nothing from other people. And you're just there until your name is called.
You're getting a lot of shame from other people. I'm looking directly at Genevieve, and immediately she's just like, I'm sorry, like whispering, I'm sorry the whole time, just shaking her head. I'm looking at Saul, and he's like, I'll explain, I'll explain. You're looking at Rome, just like scouring the whole time. And you know what's going on in like in each of those expressions. You know, in Genevieve's expression, it's I'm sorry, I betrayed you, I turned on you. You know, in Rome, it's hey, you turned on me, you were trying to vote me out, I'm getting you out. You know, in Saul, the expression is I had no other choice. I had to go with this. So you kind of pick up exactly what's happening in that moment, even without anyone saying anything. So there's a lot that's said in expressions. There's a lot that's said in, you know, not nonverbal language, and you pick it up immediately.
You've obviously watched Survivor before. You got this opportunity to play. Was there anything that surprised you about actually playing the game?
Honestly, the most surprising thing is just like it's so fun. It's just such a fun experience. Like even though you get voted off, you get blindsided, you want to feel hurt, like it's just such a cool thing to be a part of and such an awesome thing to like just experience and like enjoy. I had such an awesome time. The hard thing is like, you know, I like to think of myself as like someone who's constantly thinking things through, like making quote unquote smart decisions on a day-to-day basis, and having being sleep deprived, being hunger deprived, having boredom, not having a lot going on, you know, just sitting there, really wears you down. You're not thinking at 100% at all times. And, you know, even though you can have fun, you can make those relationships, if you're not firing on all cylinders, like you're going to make a mistake. You're going to make a sloppy error. And it's so easy being behind the screen of like being like, wow, that's such a stupid thing. Like, why would Kishan try to turn on like Rome and tell Genevieve like they're close? You don't know all the conversations that are happening. You don't know the relationships that are actually brewing in the background. You don't know how your mental capacity is in that moment. And when all of those things come together, like, yes, I am going to tell Genevieve about that plan because in my mind, it makes perfect sense. And, in my mind, that is the most logical move. So, yes, it seems a lot easier when you're watching it. It's a lot harder when you're playing it. It's still a hell of a lot of fun. It's awesome, but you're just not at your 100% at day whatever you're at. So, you kind of lose sight of that. You kind of forget that there is a survival component of Survivor. It's not just strategy, it's Survivor.
Right. And honestly, you did look like you were having a lot of fun. You
Uh,
were trying to be a little sneaky. I mean, it did seem like you were strategic. You were thinking moves through. We appreciate a big swing, even if it doesn't work out. Was there a highlight for you of this whole experience?
Ooh. It's that's such a hard question of if there's one specific moment that's a highlight because like it's the whole experience as a whole. Like, like it's being part of like a tribal council, successfully voting someone out, being blindsided, winning challenges, having like the high of winning your first two immunity challenges in a row, like, clicking on all gears, getting to know your tribe mates, looking for idols, starving, aqua dumping, like every component of it. There's just like so many fun things that are like their own each individual highlight that like ask me on any day of the week, I'll say a different highlight just because it's like I'm reflecting back and I'm like, wow, that was so fun. Like my piece of coconut fell on the ground and I just wiped off the dirt and I ate it. How cool. Here, I'm not gonna eat anything that falls onto like my own like table. Uh, like that's a highlight versus like winning the first immunity challenge by like they didn't even show it, but like we won that first challenge by like a solid 20-30 minutes. It was incredible. Like the high of that is just awesome, knowing you're not the first person voted out. There's just so many individual highlights that like it's just the whole package together that just like brings a smile on my face.
Well, it was lovely to chat with you today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. It was nice speaking with you too, Sarah.